Daniel Craig is back as James Bond, the smooth, seductive super spy with a license to kill in No Time to Die. To celebrate Craig's final performance as 007, let's recap the events of Casino Royale, Quantum of Solace, Skyfall, and SPECTRE. Here's your IMDb cheat sheet for No Time to Die. In the initial reboot film, Casino Royale, we get an origin story for British secret agent James Bond, a brash, impulsive, muscular, wall-breaking tank man armed with a big ego and a total lack of human emotions.
But arrogance and self-awareness seldom go hand in hand.
So you want me to be half monk, half hitman?
For his first real mission, his superior M enlists him in a high-stakes poker game organized by Le Chiffre, a bad guy banker with a bloody eye, asthma, and an enormous debt to Ugandan terrorists. Bond is given a boatload of money to gamble with by Treasury agent Vesper Lynd.
I'm the money.
Every penny of it.
Now, Bond is really good at this game, until he loses. He technically just gave money to the bad guys. That's not very James Bond.
You lost because of your ego.
Thankfully, undercover CIA agent Felix Leiter buys Bond back in, and after he almost gets dismembered in a stairwell, has a little tender moment with Vesper, and is poisoned by a heart-stopping martini.
That last hand nearly killed me.
He beats Le Chiffre, and naturally, the bad guy handles loss really well by kidnapping Vesper and torturing an unyielding Bond who simply laughs in his face.
You are a funny man, Mr. Bond.
Bond is then saved by the mysterious Mr. White, wakes up, and decides he wants to retire in luxury with Vesper after she taught him how to feel feelings. Unfortunately, Vesper's a double agent and gives the poker winnings to Mr. White.
I'm sorry, James.
Guilt-ridden, she locks herself in an elevator of a sinking building and drowns right in front of a helpless Bond. All this confirms what Bond thought all along, that love is a stupid thing, even after learning that Vesper exchanged the money to save his life. Back to kill mode, Bond tracks down Mr. White and introduces himself as...
The name's Bond. James Bond.
Cut to Quantum of Solace. After M and a revenge-fueled Bond interrogate Mr. White, they learn that he's part of a mysterious bad guy organization called Quantum.
The first thing you should know about us is that we have people everywhere.
Bond follows a trail of clues to Haiti, where he meets up with Camille Montes, a Bolivian agent also out for revenge, and the two team up in pursuit of evil environmentalist Dominic Green, who's making a shady deal with an exiled General Medrano for a seemingly useless piece of desert that might be jam-packed with some sweet, sweet oil. After doxing key members of the Quantum Bad Guy Club, Bond and Camille go on a plane ride to scope out Green's desert. The plane gets shot up, they jump out, and they discover that Green wants this desert not for any sweet, sweet oil, but for just good old-fashioned H2O. Bond hoofs it through the desert, gets suspended by M for his reckless ways, has a beer with Felix, then regroups with Camille for a revenge rampage. Camille kills Medrano, things explode, and Bond ditches Green in the middle of the desert with a can of oil, shaken, not stirred, to drink. Well, I mean, that's not gonna help if he's thirsty. Oh, Bond wants him to die. Bond and Camille learn a valuable lesson that day: revenge kills make you feel sad.
I don't think the dead care about vengeance.
Speaking of sad, Bond tracks down Vesper's former lover, Yusuf, a Quantum member who was responsible for catfishing and blackmailing Vesper. Bond remembers that revenge makes him sad and doesn't kill Yusuf, subsequently getting back on M's good side.
I need you back.
I never left.
Then in Skyfall, after a mission goes awry and Bond is accidentally shot by a fellow agent named Eve, he falls into a title sequence, then into some heavy drinking, and playing with scorpions. Well, at least he's not getting yelled at by M anymore, who ironically is getting yelled at by her own boss for a change, Gareth Mallory. MI6 is attacked and M is targeted, which brings back Bond. James Bond. Ugh, he looks like he needs a bath. Oh great, and he sucks at everything now. Well, M reinstates him anyway. Bond is introduced to Q, who gives him some classic 007 gadgets, like a gun with fingerprint sensors, and a tracking device. Okay, that's kind of cool.
You expecting an exploding pen?
Then with a little help from Eve, yeah, she accidentally shot him, but they're cool now, Bond sets out to find whoever attacked MI6. Turns out it's this guy, Raul Silva, an MI6 agent turned terrorist who really, really hates M, but has a little thing for British spies. And Bond is kind of feeling this.
What makes you think this is my first time? Oh, Mr. Bond.
Silva is captured and brought back to London, where he's interrogated by M, takes out his teeth, does some yoga, and escapes thanks to a computer virus. Bond gives chase, Silva throws a train at him, and Bond saves M from Silva's assassination attempt. He then pulls out his classic Aston Martin from storage and hides M at his childhood home, Skyfall, where they meet up with Bond's own personal Alfred Pennyworth named Kincaid. The three of them set up a bunch of Kevin McAllister booby traps for the impending attack of Silva and his team of wet bandits. Silva gets got, but not before getting M, who sadly dies in Bond's arms. And James actually lets his guard down, embraces these things called feelings, and cries for his fallen friend and superior. Back in London, Gareth Mallory becomes the new M, and Eve and Bond finally get formally introduced.
Eve Moneypenny.
I look forward to our time together, Miss Moneypenny.
Ow, she's Moneypenny. I see what they did there. And finally, in SPECTRE, Bond follows a trail of clues left behind by the old M that leads to the discovery of another big secret bad guy club called SPECTRE, helmed by an unsettling weirdo named Franz Oberhauser. And who's this large fellow? That's Mr. Hinks, and he does not look nice, and oh they're fast and furiousing now. Bond luckily escapes by blowing up Q's cool spy car, which he stole by the way, because let's face it, Bond is a bad friend. He teams up with Dr. Madeline Swan, the daughter of Mr. White, that pesky bad guy from Casino Royale and Quantum, who may have some info on SPECTRE.
How does she know that?
Because my father was part of it.
Bond chases Hinks in a plane and eventually throws him off a train. Hey, that means they battled with planes, trains, and automobiles, just like John Candy and Steve Martin in that one movie. Swan and Bond then find Franz's secret crater base in the Sahara. Franz reveals that he and SPECTRE have ties to all the bad stuff up to this point. Quantum, Le Chiffre, Dominic Green, Raoul Silva, Vesper, and M's deaths. It's all connected, man. Franz then goes full-blown villain by strapping Bond down to a chair, torturing him, and monologuing at his face. He reveals that his father adopted a young orphaned James Bond, which led to Franz killing his father in a jealous rage and changing his name to Ernst Stavro Blofeld, which is way better than Franz.
Catchy name.
Bond explodes a watch in his face, escapes, blows up his super cool base, and escapes with Swan. Back in London, Bond tracks down a freshly scarred Blofeld who's taken Swan hostage in the old MI6 building that's rigged to explode. But okay, come on, he's James Bond, he saves the day, and he drives off with Swan into the sunset. Well, the cloudy overcast of a typical London day. Now, in No Time to Die, Bond is back yet again, meeting some old faces, some new ones, and a messy-looking one. And hey, look, it's pop sensation Billie Eilish. So what's the deal with this new 00?
I will put a bullet in your knee.
Are Bond and Swan still cool?
You don't know what this is.
And who's this?
When you're ready.
You're late.
And what's going on with his face?
History isn't kind to men who play God.
And is this really the final chapter for Daniel Craig's James Bond? Find out in No Time to Die.